We'll keep it simple to start. How's the offseason? Pick 7th in the Big 12 poll. How you feeling about your team?
Well, after the way the season ended last year makes for a long off season when you think you're get a chance to play an NCAA tournament, but don't get that chance. That puts that proverbial chip on your shoulder. So the off season was long, but I think anytime you can play with a chip on your shoulder and find a reason to do that, that sure helps your practice moving forward.
Ryan, you have a question?
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
What's up?
Ben Hampton, he had a pretty good summer, it seemed like, up there in the Cape Cod League. I guess, how has he transitioned and built that momentum he had in the summer and taken that through the fall, and I'm assuming the first part of this preseason?
Ben having a pretty good summer is completely overstating the obvious. He led Cape Cod in strikeouts, which is that's hard to do. That's on a pretty elite list of people. So he, we're expecting good things from him this year. He won 8 games last year, and if people progress the way they're supposed to, then he should have a better year than that. But that's hard to do, as you know, in this league. So yeah, he's going to be a guy that we're counting on every time he toes the rubber, that the Mountaineers have a pretty good chance to win.
Kevin, a question.
Coach, you had several pitchers that had starts last year that migrated into relief and other roles, like Kilker, Sleeper, those guys. Are they competing for those roles again this year? More getting a shot to start again? What's the outlook early on?
The outlook early on is we've got a pretty talented and deep staff of pitchers. I don't think we have a guy that is going to be super dominant, like a Manoa type dominant, where he just destroys the other team every time he pitches. We got guys that are quality guys, and we're playing 4 inter squads per week since we started here. And when you play 4 inter squads, that means there are 8 guys that get to start the game. And of those 8 guys, I think all 8 of them are capable of starting games. And that's a pretty good feeling to know that you have that many guys that you feel good enough about that can start. But when it comes right down to it, only 4 of them get the ball against another team, and the other 4, you got to find spots for them. So it's been super competitive, and guys are competing against each other. And I really feel good about 10 or 12 guys on this staff, which is pretty rare.
You mentioned you were playing 4 inter squads per week. How do you start winding that down as you head into the regular season? Do you have any of those left? And then your last week or so before your first game, how do you transition into game mode?
Yeah, we actually have another inter squad today. We're having closer tryouts today for some guys that we have stretched out their pitch count. We're going to see how they do in a 1-inning stint today with a 1-run lead, see if they can finish a game. Because, anybody can start a game. It takes a pretty special cat to finish one. So like to find a bunch of guys that can do that. So, and this weekend, we get all the pitch counts up of the starters, and hopefully next weekend when we start playing, we can get pitch counts up to, 80, 85, 90 pitches. You don't want to lose a game because you got a guy that's really cooking and he just reached his pitch limit, but that's part of the early season that we go through. But we've been pretty fortunate. I think we've only been inside twice this whole season. And one of the days we played an inter squad, it was 28 degrees out, but it sure was sunny.
Justin.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
What's up?
Hey, good morning. Hey, I was just kind of wondering, last few years, actually, your style of play offensively is built around speed and timely hitting and, and pitching to keep you in games. I think I saw earlier where, you're not expecting to have that same kind of speed kind of team this year. So I'm just kind of wondering, how do you transition into what might be a different year for you offensively, and just how much different do you think it could be this year?
It'll be a little different. You got to kind of coach the team you have. I think we'll hit some more home runs this year than we did last year, and we won't steal as many bases, but because we lost, Victor Scott and Austin Davis that put up the big numbers, but
Right.
Believe it or not, we still return guys that, I think JJ Weatherholt stole 15 and Braden Berry had double digits and Tevin Tucker had double digits. All those guys could potentially steal 20 to 30 this year. So we're still going to run some, but if the guy at the plate's capable of hitting a homer, the last thing you want to do is make it out, take a guy off the bases ahead of him. So be a little bit of a different feel, but if you're pitching against the Mountaineers, you always in the back of your mind got to be thinking that the guy over there at first base is capable of stealing. So we're going to continue to try and put pressure on the other team's defenses, but do it a little more within reason this year.
What the potential of having a little bit more pop in the lineup? What does that? I mean, obviously, baseball is a power game now when you look at the professional level. So I'm sure some of that's creeping down into the college level as well. I mean, what does that do for you guys? With having the potential for more pop.
My second favorite play in all of baseball is the 3-run homer, and that's only second behind the grand slam. So if you can score 3 or 4 runs with one swing of the bat in our league, most games are going to be close games late. So home runs sure are a good thing to have. You don't coach according to it, but if you got guys that are capable of doing it, there are a lot of times where if you hit a bunch of singles, you get 10 or 12 hits in a game and only score 2 runs.
Right.
Because everybody only gets to first base and you leave a lot of guys on base. But to be able to score runs with one swing of the bat sure is nice. And I think we're going to do a little bit more of that this year. Too early to tell for sure, but
Sure.
Could be a little bit of a different look for the Mountaineers as far as that goes.
Sam, you have another question?
Coach, you mentioned JJ a little bit ago. You asked a whole lot out of him as a freshman last season, playing a bunch of positions, stealing bases, batting second. At the end of the season, when you met with him, what were your points of emphasis? Where did you want him to improve? And how did he look when he showed up for fall ball?
Yeah, JJ's got a chance to be the best hitter I've ever coached in 35 years. He's been that good so far this spring, and I think a lot of it is a health thing. He's more healthy now than he was. He was battling some injuries literally the entire season last year. He was playing out of position, but really didn't care, was willing to do whatever he could do to help us win games. But we think we got him at the right position now, and he's healthy and he's running as good as he's ever run and swinging as good as he's ever swung the bat. So yeah, this has a chance to be a pretty good year for him if we can keep him healthy.
Do you
Right.
expect him to bat in the second spot
Right.
again, or is he gonna?
Yeah, I think so. If you over the course of the season, if you run the numbers, the guys that hit in the first 2 spots in the order will get 10 or 12 more at bats than the guys that hit 4th or 5th. So you got a guy like JJ, you want him at the top of the lineup. You hate for the game to end with JJ standing on deck, so you try and get him as close to the top as you can. So 1 or 2 is probably ideal for him, even though he's capable of hitting in the middle and driving in runs. I think having him at the top over the course of the season will create some more at bats for him.
Ryan, go ahead.
Coach, JJ was obviously a big freshman for you last year. Who's going to be a couple of your standout freshmen, or who are the freshmen you're going to be kind of leaning on this year and expecting production out of?
Offensively, we got a kid named Ellis Garcia that's been swinging the bat really, really well in practice. He can move around. He can play some third base, some second base, some first base. He's going to be a utility type guy, but has a tremendous future offensively for us. Logan Save, a freshman catcher from Pennsylvania, has a tremendous approach to hitting. He's a really good catcher. You'll see him in the lineup some. And a couple guys out of the transfer portal are playing really well. You have Landon Wallace, a left fielder who hit over 300 at Nevada last year. Has had some really good days. Got a junior college kid named Caleb McNeely that's really playing really well right now. So we've got a really good mix of returning guys and veteran guys. Dane Leonard is going to be a middle of the lineup guy. He's been solid for us. Braden Berry's we're expecting him to have kind of a breakout year. He's got tremendous upside. So it's a really good mix. Grant Hussey, of course, had a solid year for us last year, but has matured a lot and is a different hitter right now than he was last year. So really kind of like the lineup from top to bottom. Got another freshman left-handed hitter, Canadian kid named Sam White, that has a chance to be a really good hitter over time. He's come with some high-level experience. He was on Team Canada playing in world championships and having success, and he's going to have a great future for us as well.
What do you think about Trey Keels? Seems like he's a pretty athletic kid, at least just reading about him on paper a little bit. What do you think about him and his future?
Trey's such a good kid. He plays so hard, and he's got some real offensive ability, and has gotten so much better since he's been here, and has had some good days in inter squads. But he's a freshman too, and at this level you got to have a well-rounded game, to get a lot of playing time, and he's made some great strides in some areas, and has some work to do in some other areas. But before that dude's done, he's got a chance to be a tremendous hitter for us.
Evan, we'll go back to you.
That you mentioned Dane Leonard having that veteran presence behind the plate is obviously really good. I'm guessing from your comments, Logan is maybe the number 2 catcher. How important, how big has the process been in getting those guys comfortable with your new pitchers, especially with a couple guys from the transfer portal that have a good shot, or at least will get a chance of being in the starting lineup?
Yeah, you try and get every one of our catchers to catch every one of our pitchers. So you got to juggle some inter squad lineups, but those guys both do a really good job. Dane's got some accolades here recently as in the national spotlight as one of the top catchers in the nation, and just has been around. He's a veteran. He knows how to hit. He knows how to play the game. And heck, he could even jump from behind the plate out in the infield somewhere. He played some infield for us last year and might do the same thing again. It'll really help Dane not to have to catch every single game, over the course of the season. So feel really good about Logan behind the plate, at the plate. It's the strength of this recruiting class is probably the freshman pitchers that we brought in. This is the most talented group of freshman pitchers we've ever had. But they're freshmen too, you look back at the greatest pitchers we've ever had since we've been here, the Manoas and the Michael Groves and the Nick Snyders. And, Manoa's freshman year wasn't Manoa's junior year. You got to, regardless of how talented you are, you got to learn how to win. and that takes time. So got a great group of talented guys, but the exciting part of them is going to be how they progress over time, and when they get to be Manoah's age, how special they can all be.
Nick, we'll go to you.
Skipper, thanks for your time today. You've got
Man, Close, what's up?
not much, man. It's good to see you. You got 15 freshmen on your roster, and you've just touched on a handful of them. But I guess from a bigger picture perspective, in the transfer portal era, is the way that the Mountaineers can be the best that they can be by recruiting and developing young talent in the traditional sense.
Yeah, the traditional formula for winning, what we've done here is outworked everybody and recruited really well, really talented players, have a great team culture, and develop our kids. That's always been our formula for having success. But now, in what you call the transfer portal era, things have changed a little bit, because now with the NIL and the transfer portal, math has become a really important part of the formula, because it's no secret. People, I guess, hate to admit it, but in West Virginia, if we let people come in here and cherry pick our best players after every year, our best young players, and convince them one way or another to get in the transfer portal, whether it's NIL association or not, there's literally no way to have success that way. If you owned a business and let your competitors come in and take your five best employees every year without notice, I mean, realistically, what are your chances of having a successful business? So as a state and as a fan base, we have the opportunity to control that to a certain degree. And if people would jump on board with all this NIL transfer portal stuff, we can't win by having people stand on the sidelines, So we just have to convince people around the state of West Virginia that the world we are in now is the world we're in now. And when you bring up transfer portal and NIL to people, I have yet to get anything other than a negative reaction from people about this being the ruination of college athletics. But I'm trying to convince people otherwise, because this has become West Virginia's greatest opportunity, because we're unique insofar as the fact that in the state of West Virginia, there are only 2 Division I schools, and the majority of the people in the state of West Virginia are Mountaineer fans, I'd say. Hard to argue with that. So you can't go to any other state in the country and have a fan base statewide like we have. I think there are 17 or 18 Division I schools in the state of North Carolina. So people's loyalty are divided in those states, with Texas and all the other schools. But in West Virginia, most people's loyalty lies with the Mountaineers. So if people will just participate and understand that the NIL has become a tremendous opportunity for the Mountaineers, instead of looking upon it negatively, then this is a very, very pivotal time in West Virginia athletics. And I think people need educated on the NIL and the transfer portal and how we can use it to our advantage. Because if you're not educated, then it's hard to change your mind, and you can't have progress without change. And I heard Ren Baker say it in our staff meeting: if you can't change your mind, you can't change anything. So we need people to jump on board with this, because we got an opportunity now. We can either be the Yankees and the Dodgers, who play in the playoffs all the time, or we can be the major league team up the road that traditionally doesn't have a history of investing in their players. And we just can't sit here and in any sport, let other teams come and take our best players. And it's that important to the success of the Mountaineers for people to get off the sidelines and participate.
Again, if you have a question, just put have your hand raised thing. But Justin, we'll go back to you.
Coach, interesting stuff there. There is a, I kind of hear what you're saying about, being the only, the Division I school in the state. There's a financial thing there though, right? That's while Texas may have a lot more schools dividing loyalties, they also have a lot more money, right, to work with.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
And that's the battle we will continue to fight here. But so there is a financial aspect, but we have an opportunity to have people jump on board en masse because of our following. So I know everybody in the state of West Virginia can't give us 6 and 7 figures, but if people just participate, you would see the results. We just need people to participate. What a great feeling it would be for a fan anywhere in the state of West Virginia to participate. And 2 or 3 years from now, you see West Virginia playing in the College World Series, and that fan can stand up and go to work and say, hey man, I had something to do with that.
Yeah.
I participated in that. I'm somewhat responsible for their success. So I just want people to get excited about it. 3 years from now, every team that plays in the College World Series is going to have a player at every position who has probably gotten a nice NIL package.
Right.
And if you add all those players together on the roster of all the NIL money that they've collected, it's probably going to be pretty significant. So is it turning into a professional model? Probably, but
Yeah.
that's why the Yankees and the Dodgers are playing in the playoffs all the time, because they have invested in their players. So if people around the state want the Mountaineers to play in Omaha, they have a chance to affect that more now than ever.
Hey, the other question I wanted to ask about a couple of your pitchers, Carlson, obviously he's a guy that you've felt has had really good potential. He's got a nice live arm, but has battled control problems. I'm just kind of wondering what you're seeing with him a year later. Has that another year helped him out a lot? Or
Yeah, he's pitched really well this fall and this spring, has progressed a lot. He's no different. His career is no different than the guys I said, the Manoas and the Groves. And there's been some lumps along the way his first couple of years, but he's matured a lot, and we need him to have a breakout year. So we're going to pick and choose his spots right now to ensure some success for him and give him an opportunity when this season's over and we're getting near the end of the season. We need Carlson Reed to be a really good pitcher for us, and he's definitely headed in that direction because of the way he's matured.
And the other pitcher I wanted to ask about was Aiden. Obviously, he did some really good things for you as a freshman. So in year 2, what kind of jump can you see from him?
Another guy that he's got a chance to be a 8 to 10 game winner for us, and he's going to be right there on the weekends. He's got an unbelievable mentality. He's got 3 tremendous pitches. And, if you remember, he had a no-hitter through 6 innings against Pitt at home last year. And so he's very capable of winning every game he pitches. And, when he's on the mound, I feel pretty good about it. Sometimes his adrenaline gets going too much and he gets a little bit out of control. adrenaline is something that is great in all the other sports, but doesn't help you much on the mound. So if he can contain his emotions a little bit and do what he does, he's got a chance to have a good year for us.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Sam, we'll go back to you.
Coach, one more NIL question for me, and then I'll move on to baseball. Have you noticed, it's only been a couple of years now, but have you noticed any direct impacts on the program or the league since the floodgates kind of opened, per se?
Sam, you need to pay your internet bill, dude. You're breaking up. It's hard to hear you.
I'll try again.
Yeah, you can try it again.
Yeah. Since the NIL floodgates opened a couple of years ago, have you noticed any direct impacts on the program or the league?
Yeah, there's no doubt. The best shortstop in our league left Kansas. The best shortstop in the league, ironically, was at Kansas, and now he's at Tennessee. And you never know what's true and what isn't, but you hear all the rumors of what kind of packages these kids get, NIL packages to go to different schools. So yeah, there's been some real impact. The best freshman hitter in the country last year hit 20-some home runs at NC State. He's now at LSU. And Air Force had a tremendous two-way player, that pitcher catcher that has a really bright future, left the Air Force Academy, and he's at LSU. And there's impact all over the country. And you just can't sit here and let the top 15 or 20 programs in the country continue to be the top 15 or 20 programs because they are the only ones investing. So that's why I'm trying to get the word out as much as I can that this is become a wonderful opportunity for the Mountaineers.
Ryan, we'll go back to you.
Coach, you mentioned Braden Berry could be on track for a breakout season this year. I guess what did you see out of him towards the end of last year? What did you tell him at the end of the year after the season was over, and how has he worked on those things to, I guess, kind of be on track for a breakout year this season?
Poor kid's had some injuries that he hasn't been able to play fall baseball with us the last 2 falls. He's had to sit out both falls, so he's never had a real opportunity to be a year-round player. So hopefully now that, we went into last season and he was battling for an outfield spot with a couple other guys, and he ended up winning the position by the middle of the year. But now going into the season, he knows he's a mainstay in our lineup. He's going to hit at the top of the lineup. He's a tremendous offensive player that can really run. So he should play with a lot of confidence, and he doesn't have to put that pressure on himself that I'm still trying to beat someone out. He's a mainstay in our lineup right now, and I think you'll see the benefits of that when he starts playing.
Sam, you saw your hand raised. You have another question?
Yeah, Coach. You have one remaining veteran from 2019, Tevin Tucker. He's the guy that seems to have a little extra value beyond his stat line. Is that still the case? And do you expect him to make a jump in his final season?
Yeah, it's Tevin's one of my favorite kids of all time. He's a great kid. He's been a mainstay in our lineup for, as you know, 4 years now, and is elite defensively. And Tevin just has to do his thing on offense. He has to get his walks. He has to lay his bunts down. He has to be a guy that can execute hit and runs, that type thing. And if he can do that and help the offense, that would be a huge boost for us. But, as far as leadership goes and controlling the people around him and in the locker room and in the apartment, he's as good a Mountaineer as we've ever had. But we need him to be a productive offensive player. You don't have to be a great hitter to help the offense. You just have to get on base and make the situation better after you hit than it was before you hit somehow. So Tev understands that, but he's a guy that he can help us win games without, slugging a bunch of homers and doubles.
And Greg, we'll go to you.
Coach, obviously a lot of things will change throughout the season, but in terms of February, what do you expect to learn about your group? And can you just discuss some of those early challenges that the non-conference presents?
I mean, we always play a great schedule. It's really hard to win on the road in college baseball. And we go on the road all the time. And Georgia Southern's coming off hosting a regional last year. So they're playing with all the confidence in the world. They got a lot of pieces back, and go out to Arizona and play a Pac-12 team, which obviously is super talented. And just doesn't matter who you play. It really doesn't. If you don't play well, then you're going to lose the game. It doesn't matter who the best team is. It's the team that plays the best. So we just have to go play well. We're going to play on some fields that are grass and dirt. And one thing about our infielders, when they go into the locker room after practice, there's no dirt on their cleats because we don't have dirt. So that's a huge transition. There's no other sport that has such a home field advantage than baseball does because of surfaces and dimensions. And, you can play basketball on the road, but the court's the same size and the rim's the same distance from the floor. And, every football field's 100 yards, but you go play in baseball, some fences are 310 down the line, some fences are 335. It's playing on the road is tough in baseball with different surfaces and different backdrops and all that. So really, really hard to win on the road, but in typical Mountaineer fashion, that's what we have to do, but if you can't win on the road, then you can't make it to Omaha. So to win on the road, you got to learn how to win on the road, and to learn how to win on the road, you got to play on the road. So that's kind of how we roll.